So, if Israel does invade, it could face or would face multiple obstacles in defeating Hamas and rescuing the people being held hostage. General Joseph Votel joins us now with more on what a potential ground invasion may look like. He's the former commander of U.S. Central Command and a senior fellow on national security at the Middle East Institute. Thank you so much for joining us. So, General, Israel has vowed to invade Gaza by land, by air, by sea. One of our correspondents, Holly Williams, got a chance to look at some of the weaponry that the Israeli military had seized from Hamas fighters after the terrorist attack there. They saw weapons from Iran. They say they saw weapons from Iran, weapons from North Korea, also something that she described as heavy armor-piercing weapons. We know that Hamas has had a good decade to really embed itself in Gaza. How is this ground invasion going to be different than the one in 2014?
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. It's great to be with you. So, as you pointed out, the Hamas has had a number of years, almost 10 years, to prepare for an eventual fight here. And I think what's important for people to appreciate is this is a three-dimensional fight. It's not only being fought on the surface and in buildings, but it's subsurface as well. They have some nearly 300 miles of tunnels that have been constructed under this. So it's extraordinarily complex terrain. And then, of course, when you add in the weapons that you mentioned, this makes it even more imposing to a force that's trying to go in there. And they are enabled by some sophisticated technology that Iran has provided them. You will recall explosive form penetrators, these very powerful improvised explosive devices that our troops faced in Iraq a number of years ago. These are Iranian weapons, and that technology has been passed to Hamas. So we should expect that this is going to be an extraordinarily difficult fight for any force that goes into there, even as good a force as the Israeli Defense Forces are.
I've read that urban warfare is particularly taxing, that more bullets are used, that it is perhaps the most grueling type of warfare. How do we expect Hamas to defend itself?
Well, I think what we'll see is Hamas will try to use every advantage they have in the terrain to inflict as much damage as they can on Israeli forces as they move into this area, with booby traps, with ambushes, with hardened positions in very difficult terrain. And as you point out, this will be brutal. As we think back in my experience when we returned Mosul from ISIS back in Iraq several years ago. The last fighting done by the Iraqis was with bulldozers, literally to dislodge entrenched ISIS fighters. So that's an example of how difficult this can be and how time-consuming this will be for any force that steps into this situation.
And beyond Gaza, Israel has warned Iran and Hezbollah not to interfere. What would their potential involvement mean?
Well, their potential involvement would make it a complex situation even more difficult, and it would put Israel and its leadership and its military on the horns of several dilemmas. An attack from the north by Hezbollah, a very powerful terrorist organization here that is much more capable, actually, than Hamas would really require the Israeli leadership to look at their priorities, look at the allocation of resources. Of course, there's challenges from Syria as well. There's been reports of Iraqi Shia militia groups moving into Syria. The Iranian Quds Force has started to reposture in eastern Syria to improve their positioning and maybe to cover for some things that they're doing. So this could become very, very dangerous and could present multiple threats to Israel on multiple fronts. And that is just a very, very difficult situation in terms of resources and management and establishing a priority for how the fight ensues after that.
It's difficult to know what the next week or months will bring. We know there is a lot of work being done on the ground in terms of diplomacy. The President of the United States will be arriving in Israel. The Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense has already been there. Based on your experience, 1 year from now, do you believe that Israelis will be living in a safer, more secure Israel?
Well, yeah, I certainly hope that that is the case. I think they probably are at this particular point in terms of the alertness of the Israeli Defense Forces and looking at the particular threats here, and certainly the United States and other countries, but the United States in particular has stepped up in its not only its military posturing, but as you point out, in its diplomatic posturing to make sure that we can address this situation and support the Israelis and bring this to some type of conclusion somewhere down the line.
You know, Israel's goal is to wipe out Hamas. Is that realistic?
Well, eliminating any terrorist organization is very, very difficult. You know, our experience against Al Qaeda, against the Taliban, against ISIS, we certainly can dislodge them. We can prevent them from holding terrain. We can destroy their leadership. But oftentimes, the most difficult thing to address is the ideology. And this is a dimension that that Hamas is using quite effectively here. That is their calls out to others in the region to try to come to their assistance and perpetrate attacks on Israel and trying to continue the ideology that that Hamas stands for. So getting rid of that is very, very difficult. And so you know I think it's difficult to finally get rid of all of that. I mean, maybe over time it can happen, but certainly it will take a lot of effort.
Will it take something beyond a ground offensive?
Yeah, certainly it will. I mean, a key part of this, the military is one part of this. The diplomatic effort is a part of this. The informational effort is a part of this. The humanitarian effort is extraordinarily important in this. And as your images showed at the start of the program here, I mean, the civilians are suffering. And so a key part of this for Israel, for the international community, is to make sure that the innocent civilians who themselves are being held hostage by Hamas are taken care of in this. And I think that's what's going on. It's a difficult prospect to do that. I think people are trying to set up a framework by which we can ensure these international aid resources get to the right people and they can be taken care of. That's difficult in a very complex situation like this, but I do believe that the right people are focused on that.
General Joseph Votel, thank you so much for joining us and giving us some insight.
Thank you. Great to be with you.